Going that long period of time without that practice and exercise and that wasn't my ideal job. Like wearing a leotard, because it's almost like I felt I forgot how to act. So the entire season is like me just trying to figure out my little belly like made into sculptures. It was such a bummer. That is what I did.
Wow. And so you're 18 at this time. How old are you then?
16.
16. You're 16.
Yeah.
So, and then you go from there. First of all, before that, I want to back up.
The near field is sure. Thanks, man.
From the crew members to the cast members, everybody was
I think we can audio only, can't we?
And so gifted at what they do and handled everything with such grace and just are such inspiring people to look up to. I truly was surrounded by the best. Me and my two brothers would get up and be part of the act. I yodeled, so I started yodeling with him. Yeah, since I was little.
And audio only.
I don't know. I can't say because I haven't seen it. I hate watching myself. Watching myself is a personal hell. Never. I just can't. If I watch it, then actually, they sent me the first few episodes in advance, and halfway through the first episode, I stopped and I started crying because I was like, I can't.
You've got my field. You've got my new field in the kitchen, and you're back.
I don't know how much longer this lasts.
Jenny Ortega, your mom, and you, Joe. I know.
It's really aggressive, almost scary. Like, I mean, he did it lightly, but it was a scary thing, right? And he looked at me and he measured his fingers like the distance. How did you prepare for the audition? I got the audition the day after I finished watching the first season. I watched the show when it was still on Lifetime.
No.
So aggressive and like it was scary, you know. I read the sides over and did it the way I thought I wanted to do them, and then I referred back to certain scenes or certain episodes of season 1 just to make sure that I got the tone of the show, right. And that was pretty much it. I just made sure I knew those lines. And my audition scenes were, I know you guys didn't ask for this, but I found this interesting. Yeah. My audition scenes were hide it. Yeah. And so I just realized everybody's trying to do it. I'm like, oh, do you have a girlfriend? Drugs or sex. And then, you know, you just a separate scene talking about the storyline with my mom and my dad, and it turns out it was completely fake and had nothing to do with the real scene, but
Does it bother you being
it
famous?
gave me like Norman
Fake
vibes, but not necessarily
yeah,
from Norman, just because she's
you're all
such a big
famous
movie
for
buff,
it, and I'm not.
and clearly
Does
she's
it bother
referring to
you?
Psycho as like a joke, but it was
What's it like being famous?
but that's what I thought was
It
true.
sounds like
And
it
I didn't know
sucked,
that Delilah was
man.
my sister. That wasn't originally
Good.
that wasn't a thing.
Oh, yeah, I bet it's glad you're not
One of the
famous
writers
here.
suggested that
Yeah, see, no one's famous around here. You're all fucking corporal. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna stop playing with it. I
You dump
promise.
your phone, you leave it at the door with your weapons and your other crap. No one's famous in this field, we're trying to win it. Do what I mean?
So all I really have to do is
Go
my
on.
grandmother had been an aspiring opera singer in Europe, and that was like her dream. But she gave up that dream to come to American kids in a free country. But she taught all of her kids to sing and to draw and sculpt and write so easy. Because then it's genuine reaction, or
Yeah, I've got that right.
or even like if you're having trouble with a line and somebody's asking you a question, it's not going to be TV, right, up there. So they were just writing songs to entertain themselves, and it wasn't because they thought they'd be famous. It was just, it was entertainment. They didn't have a radio, and so they would draw and they'd paint, and they my whole family is really talented. My dad definitely was the one who seemed like he would pick up horses and he'd carry around. He definitely brings him to Nashville, and I was actually did when I was younger.
I can work with it.
He'd sell that at the shows. Because when I got the audition, because I was such a big fan of the show, I called my agents and I said, that was the family living. I need to be here. I did like 5 hour sets in the bars, and I was like, I just had to promise myself that I would try to handle my pain as it came. Like that's when I found out I drugs. It was just like I had to find a way to handle the pain that I was in, so I didn't end up on that road. Because it was like there was this kernel of pain, and these people just kept burying it with like alcohol and drugs and whatever, and it turned into this mountain. They either kill themselves or just die. But they never just, all they had to do was hurt pain. You know what I mean? And so that just seemed illogical to me. And I know it's hard, like when your pain is like, when I was like, I think in some ways, very similar to experiences. I kind of wish I could be early in the sense that she was able to keep the numbers, and she said some things that I would not say.
It's so small. The number's so tight. Like if you look at all the people that have various addictions and various like self-destructive patterns of behavior, and they're like, how many of them come out on the other end for the better? It's probably 10% or something. You know, it's most people, they go down, unless they have some really good health or they figure it out because they hit rock bottom and they come to an epiphany. Most people don't. I mean, I hate to be like the percentage guy. I don't know if 10% is logical or fair, but it's a number. And I've met a lot of people that have addiction problems, and very few of them ever come out on the other end. It's fascinating because it is the ultimate puzzle for your life to solve. Like most people, you know, if you're a healthy person and you're in a job, if long things don't go terribly wrong with your health, in terms of like your physical health, you move forward, you kind of progress, and you eventually get to a better place. You go to school, you get a degree, you get a graduate degree, and hopefully you get a job. But there's this progression that takes place that's tangible and it's trackable. But not when people have addictions. It's like that puzzle seems to be insurmountable because it's a puzzle that involves your emotions and it involves whatever it means to whatever your identity is, whatever it is that's keeping you in this prison of your own control.
I don't think so.
And that it's amazing how few people get out of that one.
Yeah.
It might be our biggest problem as humans.
It is, but to me, again, it comes down to somewhere along the line we forgot as a species what to do with pain. We forgot how to transmute pain into something that's useful and becomes nourishing. And, you know, one of the things, it'll be in my next book, it's not in my last one, but this idea of like when you tolerate the intolerable, you become ill. You become emotionally ill. And so if you're raised in an abusive environment and you're tolerating something that's intolerable, abuse, you start to become emotionally ill, right? You become neurotic, or you become, maybe let's call it an eating disorder, or you start to become emotionally ill if you keep having to ingest poison. So I'll just call the intolerable a poison. It's an emotional poison. It's an experiential poison. And so then you have to figure out how to get a simple, and that was like a lot of what I had to do is like, how do I get it back to the most root, like the top domino? Because if you keep treating the pain further down the domino line, it doesn't matter because you haven't gotten to this root of like, how do I stop tolerating the intolerable? You know, so for people that were raised in really abusive environments or whatever it is, whatever your pain is, it's, you have to start gaining skills for what do I do with pain without reverting to my bag or negative coping mechanisms. And then it's also like, how do I stop tolerating the intolerable so I stop getting ill? And those just aren't things people are helping us talk about or think about.
But it definitely took some
it's not something that comes up very often, and it's also it's not something that's taught to many people in terms of like how do you cope, like what if you feel bad, what's a healthy thing to do? Exercise, meditate, have conversations with people you love and trust. If you don't have those people, seek out help, try to do something. Like this is not like standard knowledge that we give to kids.
It isn't. And that sucks. I really was angry about the fact that everything I needed to learn, like, when I moved out, I knew I needed a new emotional language. I inherited this emotional language. It's like a 5 billion data points, right, for your brain. Our brain doesn't have it now. And so emotional, just think of how many data points that is. An emotional language is immense. And I learned one from my family.
Right.
And I knew where to go to learn Spanish, but I didn't have anywhere to go to learn the language, and that was like, how am I going to solve for that? I started by just looking at other people, and when they had a skill I liked, I would just sort of study them, or I'd even interview them.
That poor girl's sleep.
Pretty close.
But with time, like what I've learned to do is like you really do have to neurologically rewire yourself. You have to have these behaviors, and you have to teach yourself this new emotional language. And we lost that. Like our culture lost it, and we should be being taught it in school. I actually just took this toolkit that I developed and put it into a graduate program for public schools. So it's core standards, but it also starts to put in a lot of these little exercises we're talking about today. Because English Writing is a great place for it because it's all writing assignments and reading assignments. But just trying to think of ways of like, how can I help humans still alive?
Why don't they play themselves? That's Ball Commander, Robert Zimmerman, and Joan Baez are still alive. They're just covering fire. They can play themselves. Correct.
This is my co-parent.
Some percent conclusion though.
Yeah,
says we'll take it. They're just covering fire. You covered Joan Baez.
The thing about rapping,
I'll cover Zimmerman.
is as soon as they
how
wrap
could
it
I
rest
up,
is
scale
you can't go back. You
skills
can't
to
fix
help us be
things.
happier
It is the way
through
it is,
systems
and you
that
have to
already
sit on it
exist?
Right.
and think about, man, what could I have done better?
English
When
class
I do
can
this
figure out how to
perfectly,
make
and I have tried hard for months and months
So that
until it
every
Oh.
really
student
comes
comes
out.
through that English class gets exposed to
Mm.
these
Purple
ideas.
haze.
And then I'm also
Yes,
creating
I hope we
And
get to see
like
the
a
that's
first.
culture